A very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on the School Achievement Report. This webinar is a continuation of the reports webinar series that we've been undertaking. My name is Musa Similani. I'm coming to you from Johannesburg. I'm not alone. I'm joined by my colleagues, IK and Yankee, who will be here to ensure that our questions are answered in the background, to ensure that we are connected during question and answers, and a lot of the other background things that make sure that this webinar goes well. And before I begin, let me just connect with Yankee, who's coming from us live from Northern Cape. Yankee, how are you, sir? Are you hearing me loud and clear? And can you see my screen?
Good morning, Musa. Yes, I can see your screen. Everything is perfect on my side. Thank you.
Great stuff. Such a pleasure to see you, gentlemen. I'm glad that you can be with us here today. Before we continue, colleagues, let us familiarize ourselves once more about the guidelines to ensure that you're getting the best value out of this webinar series. With those formalities out the way, colleagues, let's have a look at the learning objectives for today's session. And like I said, we're talking about the School Achievement Report. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to analyze school or subject performance. Secondly, investigate the number of learners failing a particular subject. And finally, gain insight into the data available on the DDD dashboard Excel downloader report and how to interpret it, right? And as you can see from this slide here, the dashboard report that is used is the School Achievement Report again. And as you can see from here, if I can just choose a laser pointer, you can see from here, this is available from provincial, district, circuit, and school level. And of course, I'm assuming that a lot of us are more on this area here, district level. And so I'm going to be speaking from that level. However, this report will function the same if you find yourself functioning above that level or even just one level below that level, all right? And the first thing we want to talk about is exactly where do I find this DDD dashboard report, the School Achievement Report. And here is a screenshot of the dashboard. And as you can see from the highlighting there under the Learner Achievement section, it is the School Achievement Report. And as soon as you click on it, it will show the parameters as you can see from there. It will ask you to select a level, and then it will ask you to select a bracket of which grades that you're wanting to see. And finally, it will ask, how do you want to see the marks? Do you want to see report marks or do you want to see exam marks, right? And of course, with this level, just something that I do want to add on here is that if you click in this and you say either province or district, or you even say circuit here, remember that what that will do is take all the schools in the report and put them in an aggregate, and it will form an aggregate for the schools. However, if you click schools here instead of province, it will actually show us the list of all the names of the schools, and then they will have their own averages and totals. So that's what I recommend, particularly for this webinar that we are doing. All of the analysis that we are going to do here is assuming that you have chosen school up here in the province area. The information available in the School Achievement Report is the next part that I want to cover. And the long story short here is I want to introduce us to the labels that are there on that report. And it's important that we familiarize ourselves with this labels, especially if we're going to do selection and filtering and ordering so that we see the information more relevant to us. It's important that we know exactly what each column does. Most of them are very self-explanatory, but some of them call for an even deeper understanding. And of course, we're not showing all the columns that are available in that report here. Some we have skipped over because they're so axiomatic, they make absolute sense. There's no need for further explanation. But here, the first one is school, and that will show the name of the schools, right? The grade, this will show the school grade. And I do want to point out here that it's based on the chosen grade during the report downloading. So when you downloaded the report, if you said, I want to see from grade 10 to grade 11, on that report, you won't find any grade that's not in there. So if you start saying, let me analyze grade 9, that won't be available because we pre-selected that in the parameters not to be there. Of course, it will show the phase, foundation, intermediate, senior, and FUT phase, which can be useful for even deeper filtering. And then we have something called a description here, where you see that, colleagues, it's talking about the subject, okay? And then we've got the levels of achievement from 1 to 7, which I will break down to remind us what those mean in the next slide. Then we've got the pass percentage. The pass percentage talks about the percentage of learners that have passed. Okay, that's the percentage of learners that have passed. And then we have a percentage above 50%. This speaks to learners that have passed with a symbol that is above 50%. And then, of course, we've got the average, which is the average performance or the average mark for that subject. All right. And then description of the achievement level. Like I said I'd cover this, and our levels are going to be shown here on this report from 1 to 7. So a school in a grade in a subject, let's say the subject is English and they've performed at level 4. It says there that maybe 17% of learners performed at level 4. Now you know what that means. It means 17 learners performed with an adequate achievement, and they go all the way from 7 to 1 with various descriptions. And here are the brackets here, and you can refer back to that to see exactly what each level means. But what's most important here is to understand that anything that is 0 to 29%, the department has labeled that not achieved or a fail in more direct language. And the webinar, or rather the DDD dashboard, does the same. It will label red any performance that finds itself in this percentage of 0 to 29, right? Now that we've talked about what the labels we can expect there on the report, let's actually have a look at what the report looks like. And as you can see here from this, this screenshot, and if you can just allow me to zoom in a little bit more so we can get a better clarity of what we're looking here. You can see there is some columns that I didn't cover: province, district, circuit, year, term, grade. And then, of course, you start having the ones I spoke about: the phase, the description, right? And these three I also didn't talk about, but I do want to sit here for a second and mention them. Oh, and by the way, the best way to actually look at this report, to understand this report, is just to think of it as going down. You have the name of the schools, the grades and the subjects, and the performance of all those subjects. And going across is labels that will tell you, okay, this one is for the subject, this one is the subject mark, etc. So it's schools, and then the row of all the descriptions that pertain to that school. That's the best way to summarize this report. But if you notice here, there's some parts that I didn't talk about in the previous slide: the learner enrollment, which very simply means the number of learners participating in a subject. So if we look at that first one, accounting has 18 learners enrolled on it. And at the end of term 4, where I printed this report, we're also seeing that there that actually 18 of those 18 learners that enrolled were actually assessed. So they have assessments against their name, so they wrote, that's 18. And then we have the number here of the learners passed, although in another column it will represent this in a percentage. In this case, I can see the actual number of them is 18. So when I start getting to the business of planning and intervention, I know exactly how many learners I'm talking about, right? And then the report is fairly wide, so that was one piece of it. But if I move all the way to the right, again, you can see here there's other items there. You've got the levels, like I said, from 1 to 7. Then you got the pass rate there. And if you remember, I did say this means the number of learners that have passed the subject. You can see they are counting in this example had 100% pass, which is awesome. But then we start asking the quality question, which is what we are promising as the Department of Education. We're saying to provide quality education. How do we measure that? How do we put that in a data conversation? Well, so you can see there, as low as although 100 learners passed, we've got only 38% that had an average that is above 50%. So that means although learners are passing, not too many of them are passing above 50%. And we can use this number as a goal to say, you know what, maybe in this term we'll aim to actually have that number from 38 to 48, and then formulate a plan based on that And then we can say to ourselves, we're improving the quality there. And our school improvement plans are actually educated, or rather informed, by data. And then you have an average here, which, long story short, is just the average symbol or the average performance there for that subject. And it's saying they are 51%, right? So just to clarify there, above 50%, that's the number of learners that are performing above 50%, and then that average becomes 51.11, all right? And that's it. That's basically what the report will speak to us about. Nothing very difficult there, very simple. I can go in here as a circuit manager and I can look at schools and see which subjects the schools are passing or which subjects the schools are failing. I can also look at here and say to myself which subjects have a high enrollment and therefore perhaps calls for more staff members to maybe take care of that. There's many things that I can take out of this report as a circuit manager. And if I am a subject advisor or I'm in the subject space, I can really narrow it down here in the subject and say, okay, accounting, here's the number of learners passing, and here's the number of learners that are passing above 50% in the average symbol that we're seeing there. So very rich report there, very dense information, which leads us to a conversation about filtering. Because the data here is so vast and speaks to so many different information needs, it's very important that we approach this report, say to ourselves, how do I filter out, or how do I select, or how do I take out of this report the information that is relevant to my function? And for that, I do want to spend a few minutes just reminding us of filtering. I'm pretty sure by now we all understand filtering. It's a conversation we always have when we're talking about reports. Not to say there's nothing else we can do with reports, and in future webinars, we'll explore other techniques. But filtering is the one that comes very easily to mind because it very quickly gives us what we are needing with very minimum input, right? So of course, when we're filtering, all we are doing is we're telling a column that, look, I want to select the items that are in your column and only see information around those things that I've selected. So the first thing we do, of course, is to enable the slide. And after we've enabled the slide, we then we enable the spreadsheet by clicking on enable there at the top, right? As soon as we download it, will say this is a read only, and we have to enable editing in order for us to start working with this report. And we highlight on the row there that has our labels or our descriptions. As you can see in my example, I've highlighted that it's row number 2 for me. And as soon as I've highlighted that, I then go to filter, which is under the data tab. So if you go on your Excel, right there at the very, very top, there are file, home, insert, page layout, and formulas, that whole story there. If I click on data, it will show me options that have to do with the data. The one that I'm interested in is the filtering, which is highlighted here, as you can see. And as soon as I click on filtering while I have the row highlighted, I will know that I've done that correctly because you will see these tiny little arrows. These tiny little arrows on the descriptions or on the labels are talking to me to say, you have put a filter here and you will be able to filter this information, meaning you're able to select things in, select things out, and even order things, which is one of the things that we'll be able to do. Now, what I'm able to do with filtering, like I said, I can order things, meaning those things that are the highest. For example, in this case, I want to see those subjects that had the highest number of learners that are in level 1. That's a filtering that I can do there. If you click on that little tiny arrow, you will have these options pop up, as you can see on my screen. If you click on sort largest to smallest, you can then rearrange these items, and you can see from this slide here, if you notice, if a column has been rearranged, it will have an arrow pointing downwards saying, look, over here, we've got things lined up in descending order. In other words, the biggest thing is going to be first, the smaller thing is going to be last. And I can see here, for example, in this example, geography is the subject that has the highest numbers of learners performing at level 1 in this report, right? And then other filtering I can do, I can filter by numbers. And this came up very strongly in some of the questions from yesterday's session. And basically here I can say to myself, I want to see only those schools that are performing, for example, that are performing greater than 60%, as my example shows. So as you can see here, if you click on that filter and you go to number filtering this time, you have several options, one of which is greater than. If you click on that, it will ask you, okay, pass percentage is greater than 60%, and then you'll be able to see only those schools that have performed above 60% in the subjects, right? And another filtering that we are able to do, we can also see less than, we can see greater than, we can also see lesser than. I can say, okay, I want to see those learners that have performed below 60%. And like the question that came up in yesterday's session, I want to see those learners that perform below 40%. This is something, again, we can do with number filtering. Click on number filtering over there. It'll open up a block. And then on that block, if you say less than, it will open that custom auto filter, and you can choose to say 40%. 60% or what have you, whatever number you want to see, and it will rearrange the sheet, and all you will see is those schools that are performing above 40% for that subject, or whatever number you choose there, right? So those are the filtering that we are able to do. Some of the other filtering that we're able to do here, and this is actually from a report that I didn't speak of. So in the past, we were able to do number of subject fails, but that's not the report I'm going to talk about today. It's just to say here, the point here, this is just the session on filtering, to say you can filter using any of these columns, limited only by your imagination, to say, what is it that I want to see against which subject, against which grade, and I can play around with that and actually filter out the data that's relevant to me. But today's session, I want to be very specific and targeted and show you a filtering that you can do to say to yourself, the subject, how many, what is the performance of the subject? Or in other words, what is the, for example, in this case, what is the what is the bottom 4 performing schools in my either circuit or district? So I'll use district. So in my district, which are the schools that are underperforming in my subject? Let's just say my subject, or the subject I'm interested in, is mathematics in grade 10. I'm able to put together a report that's similar to this, or a table similar to this. What this table will do for you is show you the schools that are bottom performing, their names. It will talk to you about the average, that is the symbol that is being performed in for the subject. And then it will show you the pass percentage to say how many learners are passing. I've also added a reason here, and just highlighting maybe a future webinar that we're going to talk to, because it's very important that when a subject underperforms or a school underperforms, we try to get to the root cause of that underperformance using data. That's the approach, right? So there is a problem solving approach that we definitely want to have as a part of future webinars. And you can use that to then formulate reasons so that when you do go to schools, you do visit schools, or you do engage with schools, you're very, very targeted. You're saying, okay, I've identified that the issue here in this school is that they don't have equipment, for example, to do some of the lab experiments, and hence they failed those parts of the exam that speaks to that experiment. And then you can then arrange the kind of plans that will solve that particular problem in the term. The key thing to take away here is that, yes, you could have probably found these answers in a number of ways, but what we talk about here in DDD is the data-driven approach, because the data-driven approach is just what it is, isn't it? It's facts, it's what's happened, and you know that you're doing things based on what's happened, and that is found to be more successful than not, right? So this is the table that we're going to try and create now using the filtering. So I'm going to start out with the blank there. Maybe my blank is too blank, but just allow me to actually change, allow me to switch now to go to the dashboard so we can actually download this report ourselves and put together the analysis that I'm talking about. Yankee, would you kindly confirm for me that you can now see my my Google Chrome?
Thanks, Musa. I can confirm that I'm seeing
Wonderful.
your screen now.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Yankee.
You are on
Google
Chrome.
Great stuff.
Dashboard.
Great stuff. Thanks, Yankee. And with that out of the way, let me then demonstrate how you will find how you would actually download this report. Very easy, colleagues. The first thing you do, Yankee, you're breaking there.
Oh, thanks, Musa. I was saying that maybe while you are busy trying to project what you want to show us, I can just let the colleagues know that if it happens that they do not receive maybe the webinar links as we usually send them, they can always come to the dashboard website, and then there is a banner there that is going, and then all our webinars will also be posted there. So if it happens that you didn't receive maybe an invite, don't think that for that particular week we don't have a webinar. You can always come to this website right where we are now on the screen that you are seeing, and a webinar for that week will be displayed, and then you can just click.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yankee, for that. You know, if for some reason you're not seeing your invite, as Yankee said, one of the things we're able to do here is actually register. If you click on that, it will be as if you received an email, and we update it every week. So yeah, good one, Yankee. Thanks for that. So how then did I get here though? Let me switch off because I'm usually always here on the dashboard. But just to do justice, how did I get here? Very simple. You go www.dbe-dashboard dashboard.co.za. All right, and if you click on enter, it will then take you to the dashboard. You type in your username and your password, and if you're thinking to yourself, where do I get that? We will be putting a slide, colleagues, where you can get a hold of us, and you can start making your request so that you have that access. And as you can see, if I click on the log on, then it'll take me to the dashboard screen. I can see information here, as Yankee said. But what I want to do is actually go to the dashboard. All right, click on login. So while that appears, so what we're going to be doing here, as you can see, my home is South Africa, but you will probably land at your district or whatever sub-district you're in, whether a circuit or what have you. So I'm just going to pick on Gauteng here and go to Ekurhuleni only because I live there. I live in Ekurhuleni East, Gauteng East. So this is where you'd probably be landing, right? Make sure that you are looking at the previous term's data, in which case we are still in term 1. I know we're in transition to term 2, but in term 2, you're going to be looking for term 1 data. But because we're still sort of in term 1, it's term 4 data that I'm going to be interested in. Also, of course, because term 1 data is not yet in. If I click on reports, you'll see there will be a slew of reports that are there. And the one that I'm interested in, ladies and gentlemen, is the School Achievement Report. I can see there it's in Excel. If I highlight, it tells me a description, extracts accumulated distribution statistics per grade and subject combination for selected grades and entity level into an Excel spreadsheet. It's basically what we've been describing. If I click on there, like I said, for this particular analysis, I do prefer it that on the level, we say school. All that will do is that it will show all the schools in Gauteng East, okay? But if I have it as district, what it will do, or if I have it as circuit or what have you, what it will do, then it will take all those schools, it will put them as an aggregate, and I'll have a summarized number instead of a number for each school. So I do, for this particular analysis, recommend that you be on school, right? And you know, you might be saying to yourself, okay, I'm a subject advisor for the FET band, so I just want FET, so you'll go grade 10 to grade 11. It should say grade 12, but grade 12, regrettably, information is not up as yet. But so we'll go from grade 10 to grade 11. But you could also decide you want to see all the schools. Maybe you're in circuit management and you want to have an analysis for all the schools, you can put it that way. Just bear in mind that the bigger the report is, the longer it will take to download, and most likely it might even have to send it to you as an email because it had to process it in the background, all right? But for this session, I'll choose grade 10 to 11. I'll choose report marks. As I can see here, the other option is exam on test marks. So I'll just leave it as that. If I click on apply, the report will generate, and notice here on the bottom left of my screen, the report has downloaded, right? Now I'm going to open the report and show us what is in there, but to protect some of the schools that are there so they're not embarrassed by us showing their marks, I will actually switch to a report that I've already pre-downloaded and that I have changed so that we are not seeing the names of the schools. All right. Let me just do that in the background before I share. Stop sharing actually on my side. Let's do this. Let me open that report on my side. Okay. All right, there we go. I just wanted to ensure first that the report is in fact not showing the data for the schools. All right, my apologies, colleagues. All right, great. There we go. So let me share that now on Zoom. Okay, there we go. It's this one here. All right. So we should be looking at a school achievement report. Yankee, can you confirm that? Yes or no?
Yes, I can confirm that I'm seeing your report. Thanks, Musa.
Great stuff. Thanks, Yankee. As you can see, just like on my screenshot, it's a school achievement report for a district printed for term 4 2020, right? I can see here, just like I mentioned, country, region, district, circuit, right? So what I want to do actually here is create this table that I was talking about that's telling me in grade 10, which school is performing the least in mathematics, right? So remember, I said the first thing that we do is that we actually click on the enable to enable the report. And then stage 2, we highlight there where the label descriptions are. Okay, this turquoise area here, as you can see. Then I click on filter. And if I click on filter, I will know that I've filtered correctly if I see arrows next to the labels and descriptions, right? So I want a list of schools. I want to end up with a list of schools with the school that's performing the least at the very top in mathematics for grade 10, right? So the first thing I want to filter there, I'm just going to move to the grade 10. Maybe let me just zoom in a little bit more here. So I come here to grade 10. If I click on the down arrow there, I see there is that filter box that I was talking to you about. I'm going to click on select all. What that does is that it deletes all the ticks. And I'm going to click on grade 10 because that's a grade I'm interested in. If you've noticed, you'll notice that now the list all the way going all the way down will only be grade 10s. Then I come to the phase. I can leave that as it is. I come to description, which if you remember, I said that's the subject. If I click on that and I click on select all there under the list, it will then remove the ticks. Then I'm just going to scroll down until I see mathematics. And if I tick mathematics and I say, okay, now the sheet has changed again. I'm only seeing schools that are I'm only seeing grade 10 for schools for mathematics, right? And I can see here, for example, for school number 21, you will be seeing the name of the school there. I've just hidden the name of the school there. You will see the level of achievement for the subject. There's 2 learners that achieved at level 1, and we have 2 that achieved at level 8. And already that lends itself into some nice statistics that I can work with. I know I have 8 learners that are midway that I can maybe find a couple of points just to push them up to the green. Here's the number of learners in this school that have passed mathematics. That's almost 96% of them. Those that passed above average, I can see 41% of those passed above 50%. And the average symbol has been 48%, very good for that school. But remember, what I want to do is I actually want those schools that perform the least to be at the very top, right? So I'll come here under pass, right? Those schools that had the number of learners, that had the most number of learners that failed. So that means I'll click here on the filter here for the pass percentage. Then I'm going to say sort by smallest to largest because I want to see the smallest achievement right at the top. So notice things have changed. Actually, now I'm seeing quite a number of schools with the red at the top, followed by the schools that are in the yellow and then schools with the red. That means that this entire sheet has been changed and has been ordered using the pass percentage as a filter. So for example, whatever school this is, if I go to the left, I can see there that the name of the school is School 11. School 11 has performed the least in mathematics, 10%. And look at that, learners are passing above 50%. It's only 2 of them. And the average pass there is 16%, right? So there's some need for immediate intervention in that particular school for that subject. And, so I already know that these schools represent the 4 schools that are underperforming. Then I can now go to the table that I was talking about. Allow me to quickly switch to the table, right? I'm going to have to share that now again. Let me just stop sharing and actually share my entire screen. I think that'll actually work better. Let me share my entire screen. All right. So permit me just to switch now to the table that I was talking about. You'll notice here in the table, now I've got the school that is underperforming in the number 1 underperforming school for mathematics in grade 10. Permit me to quickly switch back. I see there the school is school number 11. I'm going to now switch back again to my table. So I'll type that down, school 11, right? Then we want to know what is the average pass symbol. I'm going to switch back there if you allow me. And the average pass symbol, like I said, it's 2%, 2.08%. Just going to round it up and say 2% there. And then the percentage of learners passing, allow me to switch back there. It's 10.42%. I can round it up and say 10. And now we want to find out what the reasons are. Why is it that the school is having such a small percentage? And we can start by a hypothesis. Maybe we know something about that school. Maybe we know that school hasn't had a mathematics teacher in that year. Maybe we know that school has particular overcrowding for this grade. So we hypothesize all the possible reasons that we have. And then we put them through a cause analysis to say, what is the cause of all these things? And we zero down on something we can do. I'm summarizing a method that we actually talk about here at the DDD on how you can actually get to the bottom of a reason. But also, as an experienced professional in the education space, I'm pretty sure that you are able to have a nice intuition about those reasons, and you can put those there so you know what you're solving for that school. And that's the filtering that you will be doing, colleagues. And just a quick recap of what we did. We started out by, just permit me to switch back to the report now. Started by adding a filter. And to add a filter, what we do is we highlight, click on filter. Then we came here to the grade. We clicked on the grade, right? And then we deselected everything and clicked on 10 so that we can only see grade 10. The sheet changed to only show grade 10, but that's not enough. Not only do we want to just see grade 10, but we only want to see one subject for this analysis that we're talking about. So I clicked on select all to make the ticks disappear. Then I went to mathematics. I click only on mathematics and said, okay. And I can see there, if I go all the way down on the description, I'll only see mathematics, right? Then I can already see how subjects have performed for mathematics. But then I also wanted to order to say, those that performed the least, I want them on top. So I came here to the pass percentage. I clicked on the down arrow. And then I said sort from smallest to largest because I want to see the smallest symbol at the top. And as you can see, that's exactly what happened. And you can use the approach that we're suggesting there. You target those underperforming schools and give them that attention. Or you can use something that a colleague of mine also likes to use in the Eastern Cape. What they do is that they like to identify those schools that are in the middle of the pack, that are just 10% or maybe 5% away from being in the green. Focus on those schools so that at least as a district, you went up in the number of schools that are in the green. And then with your next set of energies, then you go to these schools that are in need of a far deeper intervention. We also like to talk about the strategy as the low-hanging fruit in the DDD. What is it that actually we can get some quick wins by doing small amount of work that brings about an improvement that has a larger impact, So colleagues, because this is a webinar, we only have 60 minutes. I did not go in depth about all the ways that you can filter here, I am hoping that through training in the province and through other future webinars, we can actually cover these things. But I do want you today to actually be able to take away at least the ability to do this. And while I'm here, let me also talk about something that came up in the question and answer session yesterday. Someone asked, okay, can I compare these performances against the district targets that have been set for me? Colleagues, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. If you notice, what I'm going to do now is actually just very simply add a column here. It's a blank column, and then I can say here district targets, and then maybe the district target is 40%, and then I can actually see how far my particular school is performing against the target. Nothing, absolutely nothing stopping me from doing so. So this, I can change it the way I want. And, maybe you are interested in all the schools and all the subjects. You can absolutely change this analysis to do so. My colleagues and I today just wanted us to actually focus on one, which is underperforming schools in the subject, as a nice takeaway for this session. All right. That is my story, colleagues. Let me now switch to this slide here and let us, in fact, permit me to stop sharing now. And I can see IK and Yankee are on the ready to tackle some of the difficult questions that sometimes come up that I'm just going to hand to them today to deal with. No, I'm only joking, but permit me just to share my slide again, just to inform us that we are now in the question and answer portion. And I will hand over to you, IK, to facilitate the question and answer session. And I'll start with the question. Is there any question that stood out for you?
All right, thank you so much, Musa, and thank you, colleagues, for taking our time to join the session today. I'm looking at the questions, Musa, and I can see just one question now from Vusi. However, I'm still implying to the officials, the attendees here today, to say, please, you're free to interact. You can use the Q&A if your question is not adequately answered in the Q&A chat box, you can also request to speak live. My colleagues and I will be more than happy to give you the access to speak. The question from Vusi here says, good day. In view of the delayed SSAMS patch from DBE, how soon will it take to get term 1 data?
Such a good question. Thanks for that, Vusi, and thanks, IK, for pointing that one out. Our guess is as good as yours, but unfortunately, I do have someone whose guess is better than most of us, only because of how close he usually is to the SASA process. And I'm going to throw this question to him. Yankee, if you don't mind, just tackling this as best as you can at this time.
Thanks, Musa, and good day again, colleagues. To answer the question from Vusi, the answer to that is that the schools are going to be expected to submit their term 1, I think, at the end of the first week, because we received the patch 1 day before the school to submit to the dashboard in the beginning of term 2, because they still need to capture. So I think it's going to depend on the school, how fast they are in capturing. But from Friday next week, we're expecting to start seeing schools submitting term 1. So it's just going to depend on how fast the schools are in capturing that information, because it has to be all the data for term 1. I think that answers it. That answers the official's question, Musa. Thank you.
Thank you, Yankee, for that response. IK, is there anything you'd like to also add to that answer?
Thank you so much, Musa. I think Yankee has alluded to that question. I think also they can also contact their EMIS, the provincial EMIS, for further instruction with respect to that, because I know that the EMIS guys are in constant communication with DBE, and we just don't want to misguide or misinform. So in lieu with what Yankee has said, they can also further ask the provincial EMIS for guidance. Thank you.
Thanks for that, IK. Yes, it's entirely in their hands. We are waiting upon them as much as you are. We have another question here from Joy Ngobo, and they're saying, is it correct to say that the average percentage is equal to the percentage pass at 50% plus? Allow me, gentlemen, to please answer this one. And I think the best way to actually answer this one is to go back to the slide. I'm going to try and very smoothly go back to the slide that talked about the descriptions here. So their question, if I can just pop it up again, is the average percentage. So the average percentage is the last one. Is it equal to the pass at 50%? And as you can see here, Joy, the simple answer is no. The average achievement mark talks about the symbol. So if you take all those learners' reports and you add them up in an average, it'll give you the average performance for the symbol for the subject, right? Whereas the percentage above 50% takes the number of the learners in that subject, and it says how many of those learners performed with a symbol of 50%. So this one counts the number of learners who have 50%, the percent average, and the average percentage just talks about the subject itself. If you take all the learners and you summarize their number or summarize their performance, that's what you get, which also speaks to the achievement of the subject itself. Yankee, would you agree with that assessment? Yeah, Yankee is just nodding there. Is there any other questions, IK, that are coming through?
Thank you so much, Musa. The other question that I say is not just a question, I think it's a comment from Tandiwe. Tandiwe was speaking to Yankee, says, hi, Yankee, please send me the link of the recording. My network is very unstable. I keep going in and out. Tandiwe and others that are actually also experiencing what Tandiwe is experiencing, I guess it's because of the rain. I don't know if it's raining where you are, but it's actually raining in Gauteng here. At the end of this, approximately 24 hours after the webinar, colleagues, we are actually sending the pack, which includes the slides, which Musa is actually using for this session. The attendance register for those that have registered, not those that the link was sent to, those that actually pre-registered and received the link from Zoom, you'll be receiving the attendance register pack. Then the last one is the link to this recording, which you'll be able to also have. So it will actually be sent to you, Tandiwe, and to others. Colleagues, also, if you still have questions, we still have some few minutes to accommodate that. Over to you, Musa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ike. And I see, gentlemen, we've launched the polls and colleagues are actually participating in the polls. Thanks for that. And because we're almost at 80% and we don't have any other questions, IK, Yankee, just thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you think we should close the session at this point?
For my side, I think for no response from them, from the attendees, means that everything is fine, means that they understand you, means that you are explicit. But colleagues, next steps, we just need to talk about next steps. Next steps, and for us to be able to understand this very well, I will employ each and every one of us to go back to our respective offices, to district, province, wherever we are, at home, if we are still working from home. log onto the dashboard, download the report. The only way we can actually understand this, the only way this would actually get in is when we actually take steps on doing what the facilitator just did. Download the report. Know if you are a circuit manager, if you are a subject advisor, you know, you are actually trying to look at a subject, whatsoever you want to, whatsoever parameters you actually checking. Please download the report, go step by step. You can, the good thing about the recording is that you can stop, rewind, fast forward, you know, just to go with the flow with what the facilitator did today. Engage this report. If you have any mistakes, you go and you get at any still wall. Musa, please, can you go to the information page where we have the information, the help desk and the PM's information? Yes. So if you are stuck at any place, please engage with the information that Musa is going to show us, which is the provincial project managers in our different provinces. Also, to our help desk. You can either contact them via email or via phone call, you know, saying that you would request a much deeper interaction. You know, this would be actually obliged. You actually have that opportunity to have a one-on-one, you know, or maybe a provincial webinar is being set rather than a national, just to go deep into this information or to carry this information forward. But to summarize, what I'm saying is, let's go back to the dashboard, download this report, and follow through what the facilitator has said. If you have any questions, contact your provincial project manager or the help desk. From my side, I think, thank you so much for taking our time to join. Thank you to my colleagues, the facilitator and Yankee, for supporting the session. Colleagues, will see you next week, Thursday, Friday, same platform with a new topic. Thank you. And as Yankee just said, if you did not get the information, please go to our DDD dashboard website, the login page. You would see the information. They just register. You would actually get the link sent to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. With that, nothing else for me to add. Yankee, you say your goodbyes and I'll close this session.
Thanks, Musa, and thank you to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time to join us today. I hope that the session was very, very, very fruitful, and then it will also help you in your future analysis that you'll be doing for your respective districts and circuits. Thank you very much, and do enjoy your weekend. Hope to see you again next week, Thursday and Friday, same time, same platform. Take care. Thanks, Musa. Thanks, guys.
Great stuff. Thanks, Yankee. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Musa, before you go off, there's this message from Maletistiri. Sorry if I didn't pronounce the name well. It says, "Good day, colleagues. Thank you very much. Your session are very helpful indeed, especially the slides we received after the webinar. They helped us to practice this program. Please continue to send the slides for this webinar, but unfortunately, I have never received our last webinar slide. Please, ma'am, can you please send an email to the help desk and request for this? This will be sent to you. Thank you. Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Yankee.
Thanks for that, Ike. Bye, everybody.